Hello and welcome to Help Nobody Told Me. I am Shannon Johnson. I'm a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Chicago here on the North Shore of Chicago. And I'm joined with my co-host today, Jordan Kagan, the Man of Silver.
Thank you, Shannon. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad you could join us for another great episode of Help Nobody Told Me. And I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation today. We have people that have given so much of their life to serve our country. And we have Paula today, who is with Honor Flight Lake County. And I just think the work you do is so important to be able to bring the veterans to Washington. I think that's just, maybe I've said too much already, but, please introduce yourself a little. And share how you got involved in this program and what it
got me started. I do not have any military experience myself. I did not serve. I am a civilian. My name is Paula Carballido. I grew up in Highland Park. I went to Highland Park High School, and then my parents bought a house in Park City and moved out there. And then I moved into the city of North Chicago and moved into military housing as a civilian. And when I was living there, I met a group of veterans that served during World War II, and they were called the Black World War II Navy Veterans of Great Lakes. And they erected a memorial in the city of North Chicago, which is one of a kind in the country, and it's dedicated to the first 13 African American officers that served in the Navy, and they're called the Golden 13. And through that chapter, I met a gentleman whose name was Frank Wortham, and he became my adopted veteran grandfather. And he started to share with me stories about his service during World War II. And because I didn't know anything about military service, he shared things that I was unaware of. And one of those things was when he served, he was serving in segregated camps. And I was so impressed that even after sharing the stories that he shared with me, he was a proud veteran he had his flag up, his service, he was proud of it. And I was confused because I couldn't understand how someone that had been treated the way that he was treated during his service in segregated camps, and then you go out and fight and you come back and you're still this is the greatest nation. And he walked with me through what it meant to him to be able to fight for the freedom of the generations that were going to come after him that he hadn't yet met. And that taught me a new appreciation as an American to see that two things can be true at the same time. Mm. And that really impacted my life. And at the time, I was the president of our local exchange club in North Chicago, and their group was looking for younger people to help them continue on some of the Memorial Day services and Veterans Day services as the World War II veterans were passing away. And they said, hey, would you like to be part of this group and help us out? And I said, absolutely. Through the Exchange Club, we had 4 pillars of service, and Americanism was one of those pillars. And that's how we started working together. And from there birthed a relationship, which we ended up doing turkeys for families in need during the year of 2011, and we were looking for families. And Frank Wortham was at a church in North Chicago who had families in need. And so we went in November of 2011, and I happened to see the unveiling of the Martin Luther King Memorial in D.C. that same month. And I said to Frank, hey, I would love to go to D.C. and see the Martin Luther King Memorial. And he's like, oh, I would too. I've never been to D.C. And I was like, great, why don't we plan a trip to go? He's like, let's go ask the guys. And, the next month they were having a Christmas party. I went up and said, hey, you guys want to go to D.C.? And they said, sure. They started packing their bags. That day, they were ready to go. Let's go. And I was like, oh, wait, hold on. I got to figure out how to get us out there. And that's when I came to find out about the National Honor Flight Network program and reached out to a local chapter, and the rest is history. We took them, the local chapter of our veterans at that group, to DC on an honor flight-like trip, but it wasn't an honor flight yet. It was through our exchange club, and we did go see the memorials, but it originally, for our chapter specifically in Lake County, it was to see the Martin Luther King Memorial, and then the other memorials were a bonus. And so when we returned, we found out we can become our own chapter, and we applied, and there's a whole story behind that. And that was in 2013 when we became an official chapter of an honor flight. We were called Lake County Honor Flight. And there's 129 chapters in the country in 44 states. And that was in 2013. And fast forward to 2025, we just finished our 29th flight in October. And to date, we have taken 639 veterans to visit their memorial in Washington, D.C.
That gives me chills. And you said when we were talking outside, you've been on 28 of those 29 flights,
yes.
which is amazing.
Yeah, people were like, really? I was like, yes. I co-founded our local chapter, and currently I'm the executive director. And when we started, I missed that very first flight, the inaugural flight, because my friend Frank Wortham had passed away. And there's a whole story that I share with every trip and every single participant. And the significance of the amount of work and tears and prayers that it took behind the scenes to keep the chapter going when we had no money, we had no support, we literally had nothing. And so we were gently begging people in our communities to help us. And we started with 6 veterans and then 11 veterans, and then we are now capped at 25 because we're a little different. If people are familiar with honor flights, the majority of them are same-day flights. So our sister hubs fly out in the morning and they come back at night. And a lot of them are chartering planes. So they're taking a whole plane full of veterans. So that's about 80 plus veterans at a time. We only do overnight flights. So through our chapter, we're only doing overnight flights because we're nestled between 3 sister honor flights. So we have one in Chicago, we have one in Milwaukee, and then we have a sister hub in McHenry who also does overnight trips, and they do a smaller group. And we do it 3 times a year, up to 25 veterans on each flight, and it's 3 days and 2 nights. So it's a little bit slower. Oh, wow. We take in a couple more memorials. The pace is a little bit different.
I mean, it's kind of nice because it doesn't feel so rushed, I'm sure.
Yeah, and when people say that, I always say the veterans only get one opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to experience an honor flight. They can only go once. And therefore, if somebody that is a veteran went on a 1-day flight or a 2-day or a 3-day, it meant just as much to them, whether it was a 1-day or 3-day trip.
What's the average age of the person going?
So we take, across the country, honor flights are meant to take any veterans that served before 1975. And that's because that was the end of the Vietnam War. And so when we're out there recruiting veterans to sign up, we say if you served, you do not have to have served in combat. If you were enlisted before 1975, you're eligible to go on an honor flight. So veterans that served during World War II, Korea, the Vietnam War, and then what we call the Cold War up to 1975. Technically, the VA recognizes the Cold War through 1991, but we cap it at 1975 because that's the end.
And I asked age-wise because that's 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So if they were 22 and they served, they're 72. To go fly at 72 for a 1-day trip to Washington, D.C., see Washington, D.C., and come back the same day, that sounds exhausting for me, leave alone a 75-year-old or an 80 or an 85-year-old person.
Yeah.
Oldest person you've ever taken.
100. And the coolest thing was he was also the 100th participant to come through our flight. So it was like the 100th veteran. We were in the news for 15 good seconds. But yeah, the oldest we've taken so far is 100.
Wow.
Yeah. So the average, they're in their 80s. The average veteran at this time, but the oldest we've taken is 100.
That's amazing. So how many applications do you get, and how do you determine?
Yeah, so the priority list goes as follows. So World War II, Korea, and then Vietnam is first come, first serve. The other exception is any veteran that served at any time that is terminally ill, they go to the front of the line. And if we're not flying within the window of their hospice time, then we work with our local sister hubs to connect them with whoever's flying out next to put them on the flight. And so it's not, age-wise is one thing for World War II and Korea. We don't currently have any World War IIs on our list. We did have one this year. We did have one the year before, but there's not as many of them left and that can fly. But the current waiting list that we have is 150 veterans, which is not a lot. We used to be up to 300, and the waiting list was 2 to 4 years, but that's because we didn't fly during COVID. So we didn't fly for 2 years. So our list kept growing, and we weren't taking anyone. But now that we're caught up, the waiting list for World War II and Korea is less than a year, 6 months to a year. And Vietnam veterans is 1 to 2 years at max. And because we're nestled between 3 sister honor flights, some veterans will apply to more than one, and then just whoever calls them first, that's who they go with.
Got it. So they've got to be really emotional.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's
Absolutely.
more emotional for the veterans or the volunteers.
So we have a 1-to-1 ratio. We have something called a guardian. So half of those individuals are family members or friends, and then the other half are people in the community that are paying a donation, submitting a donation to participate as the guardian for the veteran. And we do a mandatory training that's 7.5 hours long to talk about what we're going to experience, the do's and don'ts, and all the safety precautions. And the veterans that are signing up are on a big spectrum. And I always tell people, I don't promise happy, non-grumpy veterans. We're servicing veterans who some are very proud and some are not as proud because of their experience upon return, because of the experience in their local communities after returning. And there is something. It's not something that we, always talk about. We address it because we want the guardians, especially those that aren't related to them, that are signing up as volunteers, to know, like, hey, you might meet your veteran and they might not be that happy to be here, but the fact that they signed up and they're willing to go and experience it is good enough for us. And so we talk about the PTSD, we talk about the trauma, we talk about the moral wounds, we talk about some of the service experiences. And that's very important because I always tell people I can't satisfy all 65 passengers, but we get very close. And their emotions are all over the place, right? We are very aware of the issues that some of our veterans have and carry. But the most complimentary thing that we can receive from the veterans is when they come back and say, this has changed my life. They either come back and say, I picked up the 19, 20, 21-year-old that I left when I went to Vietnam or Korea, or I left that 19, 20, and 21-year-old and I came back as a different person. And you can't put a price on that. Emotionally, all of them are experiencing something different, but it is life-changing. It really is.
Any homeless veterans that have ever gone?
So we have had some veterans that do not have any emergency contacts. They have outlived everybody in their family. And what we do with them is if they are homeless, they're usually living at one of the houses provided for them at the VA for those individuals. So yes, we have had them. And again, another whole separate conversation about the volunteers, which we call guardians, to discuss, right? Like some of the sensitive issues and natures about having those topics, and specifically because we're asking the community to participate, to welcome them back, to write them mail call letters, and it could be very traumatizing for a veteran that, one, maybe has outlived all of their family members and has nobody left, and two, they come back to a welcome home that has nobody for them. So we, drill in the heads of those volunteers, like, hey, you need to work extra hard to have your family, your friends, have specific signs for your veteran, especially because they don't have anybody. We don't want to re-traumatize
So there's a homecoming when they come back.
Yes. There's a departure celebration, which we invite the community. It takes place in North Chicago at Foss Park Golf Course. And we have an invitation for people that are part of the motorcycle community or kart clubs to escort the bus up to the airport. And the big celebration is upon the return, which is usually on Sunday. And we host that welcome home at the Veterans Memorial Park in North Chicago because that's where we started from. And so we get anywhere, depending on the weather and the time. Sometimes we get back a little earlier, sometimes we get back late, flight delays and so on. And what happens is we get anywhere between 300 to 600-700 people out there.
Are you kidding
for the veterans? Yeah, and these are family members, friends, strangers, individuals that are part of the JROTC, students. I mean, it's an incredible thing because these are people that may not know anybody, and they're like, hey, we get a take two, specifically for the Vietnam veterans who share with us what it was like for them to return. And although we can never erase those memories for them, we always say we can download and create new memories for you. And we try to hopefully have some of those harder memories fade away a little bit. And we create that big welcome home with the law enforcement communities and the fire departments and the balloons and the flags and that celebration that they should have received the first time.
So how does it, we talked about how that experience affects the veterans. How does it affect their families when they come back home?
Oh my goodness. Again, the biggest compliment is when the family members, wives, husbands, grandkids is probably the cutest one, where they'll say, "What did you do to my grandpa?" Like, he's proud to wear his conflict hat, whether it's Korea, Vietnam. "What did you do to my dad? I have not seen him smile this much." Or they'll look at the pictures and they're like, "Do you know I've never seen my grandfather smile so much?" Like, they'll say, and especially because we're coming home late, and the spouses will be like, "Do you know he kept me up till 4 a.m. telling me all about his story? Like, he could not go to sleep." And I'm just like, yo, we created that from the love and the generosity and the kindness of people who stepped up and said, "Hey, we are so sorry for the way that you were treated. Please give us another chance and let us give you a different experience, and let us be part of that, welcoming you back properly." And you just, and we get notes, and I collect them and I share them with the public about what it means to the veterans when they experience that, and they'll say, "You have changed my life," or they'll say, "This is on the top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1 experiences of my life." Can you imagine being 80, 90, or 100, and we do this, and you come back and you say, this is at the top tier of your life experiences? And some veterans pass and they decide to wear our clothing. I mean, that's a compliment. Like, it's very emotional.
How can someone volunteer or donate? You said you need money, you count on donations.
We always need money, yes.
So I guess it's...
Yes. Let's start with, how can people sign up? Go to the website. The website has everything you need. If you need inspiration, go to the video gallery. Go to the photo gallery. Look at the pictures, look at the faces, look at the images. That tells you just everything you need to know. People can go to the website to find the veteran application with the requirements, for the veterans that we're taking. They fill out the application. It's online. If the veteran cannot do that, because they don't have computer access, they can call us and we fill out the application for them over the phone. We make it very easy. Guardians that are interested in being paired up with a veteran, same thing. There's a guardian application. There is a requirement for the guardians to participate. Complete the online application. We throw you in the pool, and then when the next trip comes up, we send a generic email out with the mandatory date of the trip and the training. And those guardians that are available to join, they send us an email back, and then we go from there. Volunteers, we use them for everything. We have volunteers for departures, for the welcome home. We sort mail. We collect anywhere between 2,000 to 10,000 pieces of mail for the veterans. And so we pre-read those, because sometimes kids get very creative and they draw some very creative things. And so we try to be very mindful of the things they write and how they write them. And we just pre-sort all that mail and try to even it out between all the participants. And so we require volunteers for that, anywhere between 20 to 30 people. We pack a bunch of stuff that we take with us on the trip, so we require volunteers for that. And we also have a bunch of fundraisers throughout the year, whether it's us hosting one, the majority of the fundraisers by others. And so we're always looking for people to help us raise money for that. And so same thing, you just go to the website, fill out the volunteer application, and you're good to go. And we just send an email with all the details.
Amazing. So if a veteran is bringing a family member, are both of those flights paid for, or does the family member have?
No, all the guardians have to contribute
including
their own.
Family members.
Yeah, including
Okay.
families. We do not allow for spouses, unfortunately, to be guardians unless they meet the age requirement, and they can be on another flight. They just can't be on the flight with their significant other unless they both served, and then they each get their own guardian. But yes, every guardian that participates submits a guardian donation to cover their cost, and then we, as the organization, fundraise for the other half. So what does it cost us? This year, it was $1,400 to sponsor the veteran and also to sponsor a guardian. And we're doing that times 75, so 75 veterans a year. And the organization goes out and gently begs the community to donate however they can. And so we don't have grants. We don't have a lot of corporate sponsors. We do partner with Southwest Airlines, who provides something called e-passes. So those are free tickets for the veterans to use, and those are handed out at the beginning of the year, which are very helpful for us. But outside of that, the trips are costing us anywhere between $75,000 to $90,000 for 65 passengers. And so we're raising that times 3. As the
Because you're
organization.
taking care of hotels, meals.
Hotels, airfare, meals, the transportation, all the souvenirs. We have a personalized photo book. We have tips. We have drinks. We have candy. We have all the medical stuff. We do have volunteer EMS individuals. We got wheels. We have a bunch of things to cover. And then the training that we have, plus we do a welcome home, a reunion that we just had one this past Sunday. So we do 3 of those a year. It's usually about 4 weeks after each flight where we share all the pictures from the most recent trip and the video. And so we have that. So we have a videographer, we have a photographer, we have a lot of logistical things to
It's
manage.
a whole thing.
It is. It is.
Because I think sometimes when we see little clips on TV and on the news or whatever from an honor flight, we just see, some veterans oftentimes in a wheelchair and some volunteers just kind of wheeling. We don't see
the behind the scenes,
all of the other stuff that goes along with it. So I don't think the impact of the entire trip, certainly a 3-day, 2-night kind of thing, isn't there.
Yeah, it's not. I feel like maybe with us, when you see some of our videos, you see a little bit more of that because, we have an extended version of these videos. But I always tell people, you have to experience it. I can never tell somebody who says, why didn't you tell me it was going to be like this? Because I can't. Every single guardian that comes and every single veteran has a different experience, and it's usually life-changing, but I can't put that into words, right? And so I always tell people, if you really want to get behind the scenes, you have to sign up and you have to see it. And then you can come back and tell people about it, because that's the biggest marketing we have. We don't have marketing dollars.
Absolutely.
The veterans go out and recruit other veterans. I go out there and tell veterans all the time, come join us, we have this free trip. They think I'm a scam. I don't blame them, because where do you go that there's a free trip to DC, you pay for nothing, and you come back and it's free? No. But the veterans come back and they'll say, let me tell you, and then they sign up. Every single trip, without a doubt, we come back and there's an influx of applications because these veterans came back, told other veterans, and then they sign up. It's the
Absolutely.
best marketing we have.
That's amazing.
Word of mouth and everything is the
Yeah.
best word.
Always. Always. All right, lightning round. First thing that hits your mind.
Are you ready?
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
First honor flight moment that made you emotional.
The World War II veteran at the World War II Memorial, a 3-year-old came up to him and said, thank you for your service. And that veteran looked back at him and said, you were worth it. And I never forgot about that. Because that man did not know that 3-year-old was going to run into him at a world. You know what I'm saying? The fact that, and it was so natural, so organic.
Well, the 18-year-old that was fighting didn't know that he was going to meet a 3-year-old.
Yes, and he said, you were worth it. And every time I think about it, that's what we're doing. Like, they fought, and I tell them all the time, you didn't know me. I wasn't even born when these wars were happening. And you did that so that I can have what I have now. That's my very first.
Most surprising thing about honor flight?
The most surprising thing I would have to say is when they come back and they're like, this was executed flawlessly. And I'm always like, thank you. Because they have no idea about the fires in the background. Our goal is the trip volunteers, so we have 14 people that are entrusted with working the behind the scenes on the trip. There are so many fires, and I can't even begin to tell you, and we don't even tell them. As long as the veterans and guardians don't know, and they come back and they think the whole thing was perfect, that's the best compliment. It's the most surprising.
They don't know what they don't know.
They have no idea that behind the scenes, we were literally putting out fires.
Okay, first thing in the morning, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yes, my girl.
One word to describe the veterans that you so honorably and amazingly serve.
One of a kind. They're one of a kind. Yeah.
Love that. Paula, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
This has been a very emotional episode for me.
Mm-hmm.
We talked before. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. My dad is a Vietnam veteran. I have many other family members that have served, and what you do is inexplicable. To honor those who have served for the freedoms that we have every single day, no matter how bad you think it is here in America. We are the luckiest people on earth. Don't forget that.
Paula, thank you for sharing about your mission, the work you do, the honor flight, and to also do this, as you said, without the background of you or a loved one serving our country. And the passion you bring to this is so a parent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We will have all the information about Honor Flight Lake County and how you can get in touch with them in our show notes. And we thank you so much for joining us this week on Help. Nobody Told Me.